Hey, folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. Today on the show, we're doing something a little different. So we've compiled the biggest Oscar winners at the Academy Awards from a couple of weeks ago. So if you missed our reviews or are interested in hearing our take again after the award show, we are jumping back to Vin Daly's reviews of Frankenstein and Sinners, which walked away with 3 and 4 Oscars that night, and of course, one battle after another, which took home the biggest awards in Best Director and Best Picture. We'll also jump back to Hamnet and Weapons. So these 5 films received the bulk of the Oscars, with Supporting Actor and Actress, Lead Actor and Actress, Adapted Screenplay, Original Screenplay, Director, Best Picture, Cinematography, and Score, and even the first ever award given out to Best Casting. So you'll hear in these reviews my love and respect for actor Toby Huss. You'll also hear my pretty big skepticism on Sinners. But the cool thing is after all the award shows and months of talk on these movies long after they came out, it's great going back and listening to Vin's reviews fresh off of watching them when they first got released. You know, that actual initial take, not all those second thoughts and the deliberations post all these awards. So it's a good time. We'll start with Weapons, which came out last summer. Amy Madigan won for Best Supporting Actress, and Weapons also walked away with the Golden Laces, too, at the Tom Dailies. So let's jump on in, enjoy Vin Daly's take on these Oscar winners. Let's go to the director, Zach Cregger.
Yep.
This is his second feature film. The first one was Barbarian a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Did we cover that on the podcast?
Yeah, we definitely did.
Okay, but it was early.
Yeah. But I definitely remember reviewing that for the podcast.
I think because that was 2022, I want to say.
Yep.
So this is a second feature. It really did well at the box office. Cregger is now getting he's now getting a name for himself.
Yep.
And I think he's going to get some pretty big backing.
I think the momentum of that has not even stopped since this coming out. I mean, this has only been increased.
Absolutely. So you go ahead and get into it. He's more your guy than my guy. I was close to seeing this, but I'm dying to hear about Weapons, directed by Zach Cregger.
Let me say, I mean, Weapons, there's a lot you could spoil with this. I'm going to try to stay away as much as possible from those spoilers.
Please do.
And if anything, to really lean into the selling point of that, the movie itself, I would say its mystery was probably the best quality and why you should check it out. So that continues beyond my review. Until you see Weapons, really try to stay away from this as much as possible, because it was definitely worth it in that sense. This is also continuing the many examples of comedy talent to horror director pipeline. Zach Cregger's makes a big swing with Weapons being his second film, bumping up everything from cast to concept, and most importantly, those box office numbers. This did very good over the weekend.
Yeah, it made about $44 million.
And what was budget-wise on this one?
I'll check it here real quick for you.
Just impressive that this was such a financial hit, because
$38 million the budget.
Wow.
So made that back.
Good for him.
And so it'll be printing money by next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. While he may want to distance himself from his humble sketch comedy beginnings, and again, really, really great. Whitest Kids You Know, definitely some great internet comedy.
I can't believe was that a show or was that just internet?
I think that was like an IFC show.
You're
but
right.
I found it on the internet.
Right, of course. Man, I can't believe he started on Whitest Kids You Know.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Cregger shows no signs of slowing down after this, though, being tapped to hopefully crack a halfway decent Resident Evil adaptation for his next project, where otherwise the RE franchise has been always just doomed to have some of the worst video game movie adaptations ever made. So best of luck with that, Zach.
He's starting fresh.
Yeah?
So he kind of wants to take Resident Evil on his own thing. He might even kind of not exactly adhere to whatever happens in the games.
Interesting.
He's making his own thing. So
Okay. Best of luck.
Let him do his own thing.
Yeah, that is a cursed video game adaptation if there ever was one. There's really not been a single good RE adaptation. And that's a shame, because it is a classic video game franchise.
Sure.
Now in 2025, it's been an interesting year for horror, mostly because it feels like lackluster releases in other genres have made audiences really latch on to any sliver of good we get. We encountered that with Sinners earlier in the year. And while I definitely thought this was really good and without a doubt momentum for a new director, I'm not exactly on the same page as the just the incredible hype for this film. I thought this was really good. I think it was absolutely worth a watch. I just don't know if it was, again, the overhype feels a bit much. And if that feeds into the marketing for the film, fantastic. All the better. But I feel like there is a little bit of a balance here for it. Weapons is a horror mystery with, again, more emphasis on hiding the answers to that mystery to build up an extremely satisfying payoff. Even without hearing other reviews, I can guarantee the talking points around this and maybe even the original concept for the movie are all around the last 10 minutes of the runtime. In this story, we dance around the many lives affected by a strange occurrence at Maybrook Elementary, who experienced the unexplainable when 17 children simultaneously ran away in the middle of the night, never to come back. A lack of answers morphs into insatiable anger, swirling inside every parent grieving for their lost ones, now mostly directed at the teacher of their class, Justine, played by Julia Gardner, and the only remaining child, Alex, who is suspiciously left behind. Archer, played by Josh Brolin, might be struggling the most out of all the parents, though, with his anger, and springs into his own investigation fueled by frustration, delusions, and inaction from law enforcement. Separated into 6 character chapters, the puzzle pieces interweave together, revealing a bit more each time, but in order to find these children, everyone will have to consider the impossible. I feel like these character chapters are by far the most interesting thing this has going for it. On top of playing keep away with the answers the audience wants, the answers we crave, just even if you see the first trailer for this, it gives us a lot of switch-ups in the film's tone. Basically, there are 6 chapters total, different character perspectives. Again, sometimes that's a half step backwards in the timeline to see something from a different perspective. Other times it's entirely new and kind of reaching much further in the timeline of the story. I would say these switch-ups in tone are what's so interesting about it, though, because the movie is not really a comedy, but there are moments that we're just given some relief. We're giving some ease of the high tension that we're introduced to in the beginning of the film and definitely the premise of the film.
I was a little bit surprised to hear how much comedy might be in this.
Yeah.
How many moments of brevity,
yeah,
I guess you can say. I kind of was expecting this to be a straight thriller horror, but it sounds way more of a mix.
Way more of a mix, but also unique for that reason. I think that's a good thing. I feel like the switch up in tone is handled a lot better than what we saw in Cregger's last movie, Barbarian. His writing likes to take a breather or kind of small resets in the story, which is looking to be his trademark, honestly, if I had to call it now. What I'm pointing to in Barbarian is basically the swap over to Justin Long's character that completely releases tension from the movie and becomes, outright comedic. Most of the time, when we take a step backwards in the story to shift in a character perspective, it allows for that same satisfying rise in tension to build up once again. And I really mean satisfying. But also, a lot like his last film, can be a sort of palate cleanser in the tone of the story, specifically leaning towards comedy. And I will just have to put a pin in that just for now, just for a second on the comedy. Cregger's flavor of horror, though, is without a doubt shock, almost above anything else. And I think the mystery was so satisfying here. It was because it wasn't because it was overly complex or a really I'm pulling together threads given to us throughout the story. It's rather how shocking the reveal to the answer is and how much keep away it does play with that answer towards the very end. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't have exactly jump scares in it either. That's not what I mean by shock. The movie creates a sleepy and dreamlike atmosphere, only to pay it off with just big flashes of disturbing horror. And usually then, that what marks our break to another character for another reset, another break in tension, another rebuild up into
It's funny.
the horror.
I mean, if there's any connective tissue here between our films, is that we do have almost vignettes. Then it sounds like Time Bandits.
Yeah.
And then we have this. But is it that is it that sectioned off?
No. Well,
are they hard cuts? Boom, new story with this character, and you're somewhere in the timeline.
In that sense, yes.
Not even in this. Right. Okay.
Yeah. In that sense, there are hard character chapters that it goes to black. We get a new character name on screen, and we're starting from their perspective.
Does it get? Oh, is that 6 of them?
Yes, 6 total.
Oh, does it get old restarting? Does it feel repetitive?
That's kind of my point in saying, like, I think in lesser hands, maybe. But I feel like because it's with horror and because we get a lot of different tones in that reset,
right,
it's a useful breather to kind of restart that ramp up into horror, restart the ramp into shock, which I feel like he does best, that release of tension, that's what allows for the shock to hit the 4th, the 5th, the 6th time, which I would say in almost any other instance, I would say that would get old.
And we're jumping around in the timeline.
Yep.
It's not just, okay.
Yeah. Overlaps for sure.
Yeah,
but kind of switches it up each time.
Okay.
And switches up the tone most of all.
So, in 2 hours and 10 minutes, it didn't get, you were in. It sounds like you were in. Yeah.
And above all else is because, again, the mystery is kept. You're watching the movie and you don't know the answer to the mystery until like the very last bit,
which is what you want. Yeah, the opposite of Rails, like Freakier Friday.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but also like again, maybe not complex, maybe not intellectually satisfying as far as a mystery goes, but at the same time, a nice mystery that is a step away from, I don't know, every mystery being a whodunit now or big cast type of movie. It's a different way of doing it. I feel like paid off in a big way. I also think for the kind of the aesthetics, the horror that he goes after, dream sequences are really important as well, being windows into our character's trauma. They become the breadcrumbs. They become the clues that we pick up. And normally I say this because I don't like dream sequences in movies.
Same.
More often than not, character wakes up, it just feels like a waste of time.
Absolutely.
Here, it just felt nearly all the answers came from dreams, where it was like interesting that the clues were spit out from our character's subconscious in some way and pushing the story forward. If anything, the dreams were the substance. The dreams were like the answers that you're looking for. I have to say, I don't think this was an overly comedic movie, especially for how dark and miserable our characters are from like the get-go. I mean, we're in like the peak crisis of like, where's my child? Yet, I gotta say, my theater experience was laughing out loud more than a handful of times, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't distracting. I mean, it really was excessive. Chapter 4 is probably the most comedic switch in tone. Chapter 4 is kind of like the reset you see in Barbarian. It shifts to a perspective of a junkie around Maybrook, and definitely feels like when we cut to Justin Long in Barbarian, it's just, it's unexpected because it's purposely trying to be funny for the first time. My issue, though, is that the biggest outburst came way before we get to that chapter, and no less after what was intended to be funny. I'll compare these moments to a horror like Longlegs from last year, where some of the scares, they're meant to be 100% creepy, absolutely meant to terrify you, but somehow kind of play wrong with the audience. They play different than the audience is expecting. The least spoilery example I could give is how the children run in this. You can see it right on the poster. On the surface, it looks like they're way into anime and running like Naruto around the playground, arms outstretched on their sides. So I get maybe looking at that and seeing like a little bit of comedy, not the outbursts.
That would have crushed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have very much upset me.
Yeah. And clearly, I mean, you even heard it without even diving too much into the film. Mm-hmm. People are calling this a mix of comedy. Yeah. There's a mix of comedy somewhere in there.
Do I tag? Is it so much so? I have it on the site now, and I didn't tag out comedy to it because I was like, there's no way I can call this comedy, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't buying it.
No.
To that extent, at least.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it in comedy.
Okay, good.
You're not at least going into it for comedy.
I don't want people to go on this site, search for comedies, and this shows up.
Weapons. Sounds like a good time. Maybe I'll follow up with Time Bandits with the kids.
Yeah.
But for real, I mean, like this front right corner of the audience was out of control with their laughter. I mean, seriously, I say this 100% serious. More laughter than The Naked Gun, like
That is
as a whole.
crazy.
Yeah, and that was like the silliest of like wanting to get a laugh out of you no matter what.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah.
So a little bit much. I feel like that's where some of the divide is. People are very hot on this movie right now. I think it is worth the hype to a certain extent. A little bit of that, though, is that I think it boils down to the shock being important to how Craigers is making a horror movie between the last two movies we've seen. A little bit, though, unfortunately, my own theater experience detracting from that. I would absolutely recommend watching this, maybe not in the theater, but I'd absolutely recommend checking out sooner rather than later to avoid the minefield of spoilers online, because this is, unfortunately...
You want to experience this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For how much it plays, keep away with the mystery, but also because, I mean, you can truly spoil this with just like one word, and then you kind of get the movie. That I don't like. I know every big company nowadays likes to hire a social media person to make funny jokes, but I'm looking at HBO Max's account. When those jokes spoil the literal last seconds of the movie without context, that's an unfollow for me. I mean, that's unacceptable.
Wow.
Craiger is someone I will be keeping an eye on, though, and with 2 surprising hits under his belt, let's just hope he doesn't lose anything dipping into the franchise pool. We're going to go ahead and give Weapons a 75.
Okay, 75%. Still that's a good movie.
Yeah, I would say
that's a very good movie right there.
Just shy under Bring Her Back, just shy over Sinners.
Yeah.
I feel like that's top 3 horror right now for the year.
And Craiger's first film, Barbarian, a lot of people love that movie. You were lukewarm. I think you were high 60s.
Yeah, I think we said it on last week. I'd probably even maybe knock that a few points
right.
after seeing it a second time, just randomly. But that said, I mean, he clearly has some trademarks building. He clearly has this like release of tension somewhere in the movie to rise it back up again.
Yeah.
And he definitely has a love of shock, just like, oh, this is crazy, you got to see it type of horror. And
that's
you're
why
just not going to expect
That's why the buzz is so high.
Yeah.
And that's why people are digging this.
Exactly.
But 75%, you enjoyed yourself as well.
Oh, yeah.
I wish just the theater experience was a little bit better. I want to go down a couple characters, though. First of all, Josh Brolin. This is a very, this is a big actor to be in a film like this.
Yes.
So, and I think he's helping propel a lot of the weight behind it as well. And then I had some of the big concerns with Julia Garner because I was afraid, I liked her in Ozark, but a feeling like maybe that really is maybe the only character she should be playing. How was her as the lead female role?
Justine, very interesting character, complex. I feel like if there's anything that's going to kind of turn your stomach on the comedy later on, or like comedic beats later on, is just like how much of a real drama it is, Justine being unrightfully pointed at as the cause of all these kids disappearing.
Okay.
There's a serious emotional toll that she's taking, and I feel like Julia Garner does a great job with that.
Okay.
Almost same shade of it for Josh Brolin, just like I was hoping for like a prisoner's experience of just like tortured parents.
You did say that, yes.
Not that, nowhere close, but definitely captures that like he's maybe going to be doing something that breaks some laws, and it's because he just misses his kid that much. You really see the emotional toll on these two characters.
He's such a good actor.
Yeah, it's really great.
And our boy kind of is in this too.
No,
it's one of the. You know how there's actors.
Oh yes, okay. I do know.
There's some actors out there where you're just like, where did they go?
Yeah.
So I feel this like Tom Berenger. He was one of the biggest names in the 80s, and like he showed up in Inception, but no, he's nowhere to be found.
Right,
he's a big Tom Berenger guy.
Nice.
Even Roy Scheider. You know
what
I mean?
Yeah,
All of a sudden
absolutely.
he's doing like TV movies. It's like, okay, biggest name in the 70s.
How do you go from Jaws to that? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's actors where you're like, oh, they never even got their break, and they better find it soon.
Right. Because the clock's ticking.
My boy Toby Huss.
Toby Huss
plays like some cop or something.
Yeah,
right?
He plays the commissioner of the police department. Underwhelming. He's funny in the sense of like he really grills. I forget his name. The guy that plays new Han Solo. Alden Ehrenreich.
Exactly. Sure. Yep.
More like get a new name, bro. Yeah, so he's funny in the sense of like he's a really hard to please dad, but I wanted more from Toby Huss. I literally saw him. I was just like, man.
Listen, okay, so Toby, well, you had a good experience with him because he was in Cop Shot.
Yes, and he's so good in Cop Shot.
I like him. I caught him in from, well, first of all, his biggest role is he plays a major character in King of the Hill.
Yes,
he's in
right.
175 episodes of King of the Hill. But, you know, that's still just his voice.
Right.
Halt and Catch Fire on AMC.
You've always repped this show.
Very underrated show.
Yeah.
Just because everyone knows what are the two main ones?
Mad Men, Breaking Bad,
Walking Dead. Yeah, of course.
You know, yeah.
Is it that good? No, but Halt and Catch Fire is a good show.
Sure.
He was on that. Cop Shot. He played. He played the. It's just such a stupid small role, but when I saw him,
right, you recognize him right
the
away.
Makeup artist in Blonde.
Oh, really?
He plays the main. What is her name?
Ooh, Charlize Theron.
No.
Oh wait, no. Oh,
you're thinking of Atomic Blonde. I'm thinking of.
Oh, you're thinking Anna de Armas Blonde.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. He plays the main, and he's really weird in it. He's just a very weird guy.
He was a weird guy.
Big Toby Huss guy.
Oh, yeah.
Dying. I mean, go play like Michael Keaton's brother or something like that. They could make a movie together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I mean,
he's just too good to not be in things.
Yeah. If anything, I saw him. I was like, no spoilers. He's not the problem. I wanted him to be the evil in this movie. I wanted him to be the problem.
Oh, okay. Always got to shout him out when I see his name.
Yeah, Toby Huss.
He's not in much. 75% for weapons, folks. Okay, thank you for letting me get that in.
I love
appreciate
that. That was definitely value added to the review.
Chloe Zhao is a director. Again, small indie. Well, Nomadland she made in 2020, which
yes.
Nomadland won for Best Picture Oscar, so that was kind of a big deal. She came out with Eternals in 2021. A stinker, to say the least.
A stinker, and also just like hated in every direction possible.
Yeah,
hated from Marvel fans,
everyone.
hated from film fans.
I'd like to shake the hands of the man who loves Eternals, the film.
Or like really rooting for Eternals to have their place in the MCU.
I guess I don't think they exist.
Yeah.
But Chloe Zhao then is like, what are you doing? And then she comes out with Hamnet in 2025. So you said it's William Shakespeare inspired, somewhat true, I think a lot of untrue.
Yes, there's it does a lot of historical jumping around to obviously the theater he's performing at, and even like the homes he's buying. But it's much more domestic. Not exactly. I'll say in a little bit. Not the big Shakespeare biopic you're looking for. It feels like a lot of other movies.
I don't think it's supposed to be either.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's not like you had brought up Maestro before recording.
Yes.
Where Maestro, you kind of end and it's like, well, do I really know Leonard Bernstein? Because it was supposed to be the biopic.
Bingo.
This is a snapshot in time about their family structure.
Yep.
And then how do we get Hamlet, basically.
Yep.
But regardless, so we have Jessie Buckley as the main actress, Paul Mescal, who was all over the place.
Yep.
And directed by Chloe Zhao. You take it away, tell us about the film, and get into it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this has received a lot of buzz for many great acting performances, and was something I kind of expected to do a catch-up in the new year for, but managed to squeeze it in this week, and was happy
And still in theaters.
Yeah, absolutely. Before checking this out, though, I would say I was a little bit lukewarm for a few reasons. One, I didn't really care that much for a fictional account of Shakespeare's life, even though the story walks a lot of the historical footsteps. I also kind of don't care for Chloe Zhao, our director. Beyond the real-world appeal of, real life actors, so to speak, in her 2020 release Nomadland, I felt the movie really would be better off as a documentary, and more importantly, this kind of comes as her first strike out of movie jail, so to speak. And that movie jail, that sentencing was for her mutually hated time spent in the MCU for 2021's bomb Eternals.
Yeah. Real quick before we get into it, didn't even realize this. Well, first of all, Nomadland, you gave it 70%.
Yes.
I'm assuming that, who's our lead actress who we absolutely love?
Frances McDormand.
Yes, Frances McDormand, my favorite actress, by the way, now living. You give it a 70%.
Yeah.
She's starring in, I'm sure that's doing some weight in it. That was episode 1.
Yes, that did make it. I always get confused with the few proto-episodes we have floating around.
That's true, the trial stuff. That was the Cruella episode 1 Nomadland, which...
I did not go back and listen to that.
I don't think most people should, maybe.
God help you.
All All right, go ahead, take it away.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, my continued thoughts on that movie is like it was strong, but I really think it would have been stronger as a documentary, not to even spit in the face of her getting Best Picture and whatnot. But The Eternals, that's a deviation and not for the best. Again, there is a mutually hated time spent in the MCU. Chloe Zhao did not like her time in the MCU, and for the best. And this was a passion project for Zhao, and thankfully is back in her emotional wheelhouse to give us something you actually want to see and something she actually want to make. Hamnet is a period romance drama that slightly serves as, again, a biopic for William Shakespeare's early days as a playwright, but more so focuses on a lot of intense emotional baggage within the budding home life that he has. Will is played by Paul Mescal, starting the story as a frustrated tutor working to pay off his father's debts. He falls head over heels for Agnes, played by Jessie Buckley, a witchy forest girl that is fascinated with the stories he weaves, and I mean really woodsy, like old school, old world woodsy. She would make a hippie blush. She would wipe the floor with your average TikTok festival girl any day of the week. Like, you think you're a guru? No, Agnes has got it. Not satisfied with his small town prospects, Will juggles starting his career in London while also growing his family to have 3 children left in Agnes's care. But when tragedy strikes, his absence only compounds the intense grief felt at home. And with the only outlet for emotion he knows, channels both his and Agnes's pain onto the stage. Folks, we've talked a lot about Oscar bait over the years, and many qualities of Oscar bait can kind of come to mind. This movie being a platform for acting, an overdramatic tone to the experience, the list goes on of what could come to mind when you think of Oscar bait. And honestly, when kind of reflecting on this film, it's hard to tell when that list shifts from praise to critique. What's the line there?
Yeah.
Of when Oscar bait becomes a burden of how to describe a film. Hamnet mostly has good qualities when it comes to that, especially when it comes to those acting performances it's getting most of the praise for. But personally, I could not stop thinking about 2 other movies while watching this. The first was 1998's semi-infamous Oscar sweeper Shakespeare in Love. Both films flirt a line with kind of a semi-historical, semi-fictional elements to a huge historical figure. But maybe even more so, I could not stop thinking about 2023's Maestro when watching this. Not only do... and if anything, it was kind of like, well, who's the main character here? Who's the lead role? Like we talked about with that movie. Not only do both films take a strategic sidestep in not being directly about our person of interest, but both stories have a much greater interest in the woman or the women in their lives, and to some degree you can argue who is the lead role in this. I think this is also a useful comparison to talk about the time jumps in the story. Hamnet doesn't really have... it's not exactly stream of conscious, but we don't really see Will's work until the very end of the movie, and instead kind of gauge where he's at in his career through glimpses of the home life. So I can't really say walking out of this film, again, whether it's the goal of the film or not, that I know what Shakespeare was working on at certain periods of his life, fictional or not here. It's more so he's doing his thing. This is what's happening in the home life, and that's that emotion. How is it making it to the stage? And we finally see it at the very
That's really
end.
the movie.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I had asked you, how much are we really dealing with Shakespeare play? How much are we in the material?
Yep.
And you said not very much.
Yeah, it's pretty much the finale, which is kind of nice in the sense that the climax of the story
building up to
is you finally get to see it. But I could definitely see someone maybe being a hardcore Shakespeare fan, maybe being a touch disappointed
because it's really a family drama at the end of it.
Exactly, and for what it's worth, the acting performances are so good. You maybe wonder how that could translate to seeing more stuff on stage, even if it's not our main duo or anything like that. So, but as much as I would love to be kind of snarky for the review again, kind of picking some beef with Chloe Zhao. We really do get some powerhouse performances here from literally everyone involved. I wouldn't say Mescal is doing anything out of his kind of typical moody range, but as always, he really does a lot of acting in his eyes specifically, and almost what doesn't come out of his mouth. I think Mescal's strength as an actor is just like
quiet acting,
the non-acting of it, you know? Jessie Buckley, though, on the other hand, came to play in this. She is not messing around. We'll see Buckley later on in 2026 for The Bride. The Bride of Frankenstein, weird kind of mix.
She doesn't play the bride.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she is.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, we haven't really touched on. I think Buckley was in Men.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
But that's about it as far as what we covered from her. She's got some interesting appeal. She's got this like kind of constant smirk that she has. You pretty much see it in any picture she has. Not only is this character difficult for how old world, like truly old world she feels and how unusual she feels, there are just countless scenes where she makes the whole movie. Particularly there are scenes where she's maternal or even specifically giving birth, and she's just able to blend so many emotions at once without, I don't know, maybe even seeming cartoony or over the top.
Right, yeah. She's playing it straight.
Yeah. And it feels lived in. This character feels lived in, aside from, Buckley maybe not having a super defining role that you would associate with her. Here, I mean, she really blends into this character. Lastly, I also would say that I have some unexpected praise and well-deserved praise for kid acting in this movie.
Thank God. Usually,
This is the jump scare of the episode. It surprised me, but mainly I would say the main kid that plays Hamnet, I believe it's Jacob E. Jupe.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I guess that's a good actor name or not.
Yeah, no, we'll take it.
But the rare performance from a kid actor that really not once did I say, oh, I'm being taken out of this or whatnot. If anything, kind of like Paul Mescal, has some unusually good face acting.
For a kid, that's super rare.
It's crazy.
Okay, so
I mean, this kid was adorable, but he had some chops.
Wow, we'll keep him. Keep him in the old Rolodex there. Okay,
exactly. So
because there's 3 main kids, correct?
Yes,
a daughter.
2 daughters and 1 son.
And 1 son, yeah, okay, right.
Exactly. But really surprising. I will say, maybe just off the cuff, maybe there is something there to Chloe Zhao's directing, working on Nomadland, in dealing with non-actors and getting some degree of performance, or just capturing that realism. Maybe that was a secret ingredient here in working with these kids, because they were all very good, but Jacob Jupe.
Really good.
Yeah, really good. Maybe not. Get a different name, but really good. Folks, originally I was going to say this was good, but nothing exceptional. And when I think of the story and the experiences as a whole, I still kind of have that feeling. But when I really zero in on these performances held within it, I cannot deny how powerful this was in the emotion conjured by every single actor. Everyone is dialed in on this. Maybe this is a case where I wouldn't really return to this again, but I can certainly respect the craft on display and wouldn't be upset if this secured really any wins in the coming months. With that said, we're going to go ahead and give Hamnet a 73.
Okay, 73%. I'm glad you liked it. And how emotionally taxing was it in the end? When you know what I mean? When push comes to shove.
Pretty emotionally taxing. This was, I wouldn't call this like a feel-bad movie, but this is capital D drama for sure.
And it's pulling on the heartstrings.
Yeah,
which is fine. I mean, there's a place for that.
Yeah. I mean, I would call it intense because of the emotion. It's not intense because of like action or even like arguments or anything like that. It's just intense because of like how people are sitting with the emotion in this.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, 73%. That's still pretty good. So we got together for this one. This is the longest one of the week, and one of Del Toro's longest at 2.5 hours. Of course, it's rated R, and we talked about in the beginning of the show. He's always wanted to do this, apparently, even as a kid. He wanted to adapt the original Frankenstein story.
Yep.
Why don't you just delve us in a little bit? We'll take this back and forth. I don't have huge notes for this. I just wanted to ping pong of what you got going on. So set us up with Del Toro's Frankenstein.
The modern master of macabre is back, and really he's riding the wave of classical horror projects coming back to theaters, or at least being, greenlit in some capacity. Not only does this fit side by side with Robert Eggers' recent Nosferatu, and Werewolf coming next year, but in just a few months, we'll also get another drastically different take on the Frankenstein story with Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. That's something I discovered, Tom. I did not know The Bride was directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, and Jake is in it.
Was he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's in.
Unreal.
I
have no idea if she's done other stuff, but that was just kind of a surprise.
Yeah, she had that HBO show or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But as for this project, Del Toro has spoken extensively about his love of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and if you've seen even a single film of his, I feel like that makes perfect sense that he had to adapt this for his own. However, I would say despite him being the king of making monsters we can empathize with, I think this movie suffers a lot when it comes to pacing and perhaps even being burdened with the expectation that, in a way, his original stories aren't burdened. Frankenstein is a dark fantasy horror that pairs steampunk aesthetics with grim body stitching to retell the classic novel that continues to play a role in so much storytelling in the genre. I am glad that this was made, especially because I don't think The Bride is going to be, Bride is definitely doing its own thing.
Yeah.
Which may be for the best. This, I feel like I am happy that we got this project in 2025, even though I'm kind of lukewarm on the film, because it is fundamental. This is a story that needs to kind of have a modern retelling. And I feel like for a lot of people, this is going to hit in a lot of good ways to introduce them to what Frankenstein is about and how the story structure is.
Does it bother you with how many properties of Frankenstein we have? If you go back through the filmography, and the TV stuff, it is so hit. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's really all Universal is to blame. Same with Dracula, Invisible Man. You know what I mean?
It's just a lot.
Yeah.
Did we? I mean, but you're saying you're happy that we have it. You're happy that we got another adaptation.
I can't, at least off the top of my head, name when the last time we got a Frankenstein anything. I am with you at 100%. Back in the day, even into the 50s, a lot of stuff there. But
right. I guess blockbuster-wise, nothing. Everything would be smaller label stuff or quieter. So you were right. Nothing blockbuster for a bit.
Exactly. Or that bad trend in the 2010s, and I'll actually mention it, like Dracula Untold and I, Frankenstein, where they were almost gritty action retellings.
Right.
I mean, I haven't really watched those movies, so I can't say definitively, but I think they're probably pretty bad. But serving as a modern reminder that Frankenstein is the name of the man and not the monster, this story follows the origin of Victor Frankenstein through his strict upbringing, toxic ambition, and hubris thinking he can play God. Upon receiving funding for his ghoulish project, Victor gets to work in creating a man from lifeless body parts, but is soon blinded by the promise of his scientific breakthrough, his ethics lost along with it. Do the ends justify the means? Victor might have created a creature born of death that does not die, but soon he will find that it takes nurture to make a man, and without that love, only leaves the monster in its wake. I would say, folks, while this adaptation strikes pretty close to the original novel, both what Del Toro changes and what he doesn't change creates some issues for me. The story is separated into two main parts, two main chapters, even though it feels like there's, while that first chapter is unfolding, you have a lot of mini chapters.
Yes.
With the origins of both sides of the story, being Victor and the monster, told exclusively in flashback. While that structure is true to the original novel, is used that as a narrative device. I feel that it was a misstep that unnecessarily burdens the films. He puts a lot more emphasis, for instance, as far as changes from the original story, on the creation of the monster. That's very, very concise in the original novel. And because of that, yes, they still have this retelling story structure, this flashback story structure, but there's a lot more runway on the other side of that we see of what the monster is doing to catch up with Victor.
Yeah.
And a lot more, honestly, understanding the story in full now, a lot more cool and imaginative stuff that I am like upset didn't make it into.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
In the second half of the film.
Yeah, specifically around like the revenge that the monster takes and how vicious that revenge gets. Like really interesting stuff that is like a damn shame is not in the movie. Like I feel like Jacob Elordi alone could like thrive.
You didn't want it to be longer though.
No.
You just wanted that to take more real estate of the film we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's where I'm conflicted because I think we would both agree that the body stitching, the evil science work of this first chapter is probably the best rhythm that the movie gets in, but that is bloated from the original story. And granted, that's the juice that we want out of this. I mean, if there is going to be an emphasis on creating the monster, it frankly makes sense because that's the juice that any modern audience is going to think of when they think of Frankenstein. They want the lightning coming down and bringing him to life.
Which I know. Have you been connected to Frankenstein at all?
No.
Which, to be honest about it, surprises me.
Really?
Well, just because you like the darker themes and everything.
Yeah.
Like that. I could see you growing up. I don't know, you reading it and you being about it. I know you said you haven't read the original novel.
No.
And for me, it's like, I can't tell you how much kind of more on board I was. The first hour and 20 minutes, there's something specific that happens in the film that won't get into. After that, they've really slumped down for me. So getting to the part of the stitching and things like that. Not that I didn't like that, but I liked the development of Victor Frankenstein and us getting to that moment. Because everything's leading up to that kind of deal.
Yep.
What a drop-off, in my opinion, after that. Because you're right, the most exciting... I mean, I don't know, like the first 40 minutes did you like? Like, did you only like the middle section? Okay, because I was on board. No,
absolutely. I think like that rise in what I would honestly call the second chapter of the story. It's not the second chapter, but like what actually like feels like the second chapter when he's getting to work on the project. I feel like there's a great rhythm and something that again, I feel like modern audience checking out Frankenstein for the first time is going to want to see. They want to see the "it's alive" moment.
Yes.
I
would say that didn't really do it for me.
Really?
Yeah, I honestly, the lead up. I like the lead up.
Yeah.
I like the business behind it. I like the getting going type of deal.
I'm with you.
Not that I didn't hate
and
it.
even Victor's origins. I feel like there was
quite liked it, yeah.
set up there that was really good. But I will say the longer we spend with Victor means the longer we spend away from the main breadth of the story being about the humanity within the monster. And this mainly shows an ugly face, much uglier than Jacob Elordi, when we get a total thematic and tonal reset smack dab middle of the runtime. It gets worse because the entire movie is in this flashback. I cannot help but feel how unsatisfying the storytelling was in this through this method. And again, authentic to the novel or not, it doesn't support the experience of the film.
Exactly.
And if anything, unauthentic to the novel is the specific weight of each of these sections of the story. We basically get an hour and 30 with Victor and an hour of the monster. That's not true to the novel, from what I understand. So I feel like that reset, it was a little pulling teeth. I'm not going to...
It absolutely was.
I don't want to throw out the B word, but it was a little boring.
It absolutely... it absolutely got boring. And not only that, I think it's, again, as if I don't really care about the book, like to your point, it really comes down to, okay, but we need to put this into a film now.
Yep.
And the thing... What you said was we're all leading up to that Frankenstein moment with the lightning coming down. So we have anticipation. We're getting excited following Victor's story, knowing that this is going to happen. Now this happens. Now we have the monster of Frankenstein. Really what the story is Frankenstein. Now we want to see those two back at it again where we started the story off in the film.
Yes.
Whether in the Arctic, whatever, wherever we're at. And so now we have this new anticipation, this new lead up. But the problem is we already kind of see where the result was. So we know exactly, even visually, where we're ending up. So can you just get us there?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's weird. It's not a great reset. It really isn't a great reset.
I mean, to the point, this is where I said, like, I was really glad we watched this together. Because, talk about, like, the perfect encapsulation of like this feeling in the film. Folks, Tom and I were already joking how silly and drawn out the narrative device was of Victor telling his story to the captain while, meanwhile his men are like freezing out in the cold. Like, Captain, like, you said we had to move quick or we're gonna be stuck here forever. Like, it was already like something we were just kind of like poking fun at, like not really like critically like skewering the movie for.
No, but it is funny. Yeah, Oscar Isaac's just giving his life story.
Yeah.
And the captain is in.
Oh, like, yeah, he's like, he's never had this level of tea. I mean, he is eating it up. And then we made an unfortunate joke that kind of came true.
It did kind of come true.
Once the monster kind of catches up to the story. And I literally said it word for word. Yeah. I don't know. My jaw was on the floor. Like, what? Unreal. Like, unreal.
It's really tough. When you have a big inflection point, I don't know if inflection point, but you have this big inflection point that you're setting up for the film. We know we're going to get it. But that's what we care about. Yeah. And then you set up a second inflection point, and it's worse.
Yeah. And from what I understand, that section telling the monster side a little bit more is
more the book.
Yeah, that's the mean of it.
Right. Yeah. So you're saying flip those times.
Yeah, exactly. Flip the proportion a little bit. I feel like it could help a lot more. I also think like, yes, these two are designed to cover the same thematic ground, mainly kind of being like father figures and like nurture versus nature themes. Yeah, just something there just was like, oh man, I it was a reset. Know where this is going.
I mean, the best. I mean, it was able to work way better in House of Dynamite just because they were shorter segments.
What a comparison!
They were shorter segments.
Netflix head to head.
I'm just saying, we're gonna restart the film. You know?
Yeah, true. It was a touch better in that direction.
Bigelow at least only gave us 20-minute sections.
But yeah, I feel like, again, this is where I return to like it being a burden. The scope of adapting Mary Shelley's book so faithfully, and in some ways not faithfully, reminds me of Coppola's Dracula and how that movie felt. It unfolds the story top to bottom, but by doing so, it hurts pacing most of all in a critical way. To be honest, I will say I even felt this slightly with Nosferatu, and I kind of commented. I remember us, commenting on that there was a sliver of disappointment around it, and I feel like all of that it revolves around adapting these very old stories that, whether you've read them or not, you've kind of absorbed through modern storytelling, and you can still have all the authenticity in adapting that story, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can't. I don't know, and not change, but adapt a little bit. Like not adapting the story, like adapt the to the medium it's being put through.
You gotta make a movie. Yeah. You gotta turn this into a movie. Now, Nosferatu, we were both quite pleased with.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. But I remember you asking, like, you sound a little disappointed with it, and that's that same kind of thing of just like. Well, I mean, there is a degree of been there, done that, and I just wish it had some shocks in store. It had some surprises to the movie specifically, the directing even. So,
can I make a point? And what I liked about the film?
Sure.
Because, I mean, I'm sorry about this.
Now Del Toro's a genius.
You won't hear me say those words.
Yeah.
But it is funny. I think this was kind of the movie I like most this week. Which is shocking.
Yeah.
So first of all, this got laughed out of the room practically, by the way, in Venice Film Festival.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hated. Then it started to creep out. Then all of a sudden people were like, it started getting good reviews.
Yeah, I heard people calling this best Del Toro.
It was winning audience awards at some other festival or something like that. And it was like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
the absolute hate, I think, is not warranted.
No.
I honestly, in that first section, especially that first half, I thought this was visually his best film.
Okay.
I thought the way the movie actually looked, we were talking about his colors, we were talking about personally how I feel about his overglossiness or something like that. I enjoyed it the most in this film. I thought he got it down. I liked his colors. I thought it was good. I really thought it was kind of his best looking film in my opinion. So I did appreciate that. The CGI is totally rough in some areas. In some areas, it's like, oh, this is just Del Toro. I've seen this before.
Yeah.
But in sometimes, in the year 2025, it's like, this is kind of rough. This is a little rough.
Yeah, it's obviously I don't have the technical skills to point to and say, why the CGI looks bad because I'm not like a CGI artist, I can't
Right.
point to specific qualities, but I feel like this era of fast moving CGI, something is in like the blur effect of it. It looks even more fake than it ever would.
It might just be money it comes down to, but I mean like his
Yeah.
castle that he's at, like his lair, his laboratory.
The layer is ridiculous. I remember
It's not
asking
the
you, I was
best.
like, what was the explanation again?
I know.
This is some like insane asylum?
Makes
What's going
no
on?
sense. But that doesn't look great. You know what I mean? And
I
there's,
will say
there's
I
some
do-
animals in it that don't look fantastic.
Sure, I do like how wild the steampunky elements. Like I look to like
aesthetic.
the technology.
You're talking
yeah.
aesthetic.
Yes,
Different
yes.
story.
And design is, I feel like, where Del Toro steps in. But I'm with you. I think the CGI also is shown to be a rough spot, though it's not like make or break. In the action, I kind of didn't love the action on this. Or in this.
Yeah,
This is where
disconnect.
yeah, there's a disconnect. I will admit there is some effective, shocking moments that of how ridiculous the overkills are in this. I mean, it seriously felt like something
It's
out
like a
like
video
God of
game.
War,
Yeah.
or like Mortal Kombat.
Or Bloodline or blood porn.
Yeah, a little
Right?
Bloodborne.
So, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Bloodborne works in these type of
Bloodline is a Netflix show. I forgot. Sorry. My wires crossed.
Getting Netflix. I just thought the action was just by far the weakest.
Kind of unwarranted
flavor.
again.
Yeah.
And I bring this down to his. I think I told you this.
Mm-hmm.
I bring this down because he's such a jolly, happy man. I think he's kind of. I think you can show him something, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great. This is perfect." I think he's all about things. But I think if Del Toro was a dick in real life, I think we would be getting better art from him.
Interesting.
That's probably my hottest take.
I will say there is something you're hitting on. People talk about Miyazaki as Studio Ghibli, of how beautiful and lovely his films are and how soft the films are. And then you look at any interview with the man and he's like horribly depressed and he's like, oh man, art is dying. And like,
And he's a perfectionist.
yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
there is something that you're hitting on there.
Listen, Jack White is not easy to work with, but his music is very good. I mean, there is something there where I just think he's not that. I almost want to say that maybe he's too overly impressed, and so where he's just like, okay, we have this action sequence and we need some gore in here, or something like that. Yeah, let's just do this. Let's do this. But as a viewer watching it, both of us in the room. They're just like, oh, okay, all right, he's doing that. It doesn't have the punch, the effect that you would want it to.
Yeah,
and it comes back to that whole unearned thing and going through my head.
Sure. No, I feel you. And again, I think where even like how you noted, like there are a lot of nitpicks, but they build up to something.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like just really my thoughts on this one, the biggest wound it suffers is just pacing, straight up.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, if I could say nothing else, and that pacing is where the score lands.
Which
for
comes
me.
down to story writing, really.
Yeah,
I mean, the screenplay of this was just, man, that second half, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, it's just 2.5 hours long. I don't know. You lost us.
Yeah.
He lost us.
Yeah. And again, there's a lot of play there. I think because the story is so old, we've like absorbed it, through modern stories. But there's a degree there of just like, wow, this was kind of boring, and I don't like that. I will curse up a storm. Boring is not what I like to say about any movie, any movie at all. I do have a bone to pick, though, and I'll make it real quick because I've talked about him a lot this episode, is Doug Jones. He got shafted by not being in this. This could have been a phenomenal capstone to their collaboration. And back when this project was somewhere in the ether of the Dark Universe, where Universal was greenlighting these gritty new remakes and trying to make a cinematic universe out of these old 1920s movies monsters.
What was it called again? It was called Dark Universe. Yeah.
And listen, it's no problem if that doesn't ring a bell because it was basically
like fell flat on its
exactly.
face.
It fell flat on its face. They
Boy,
never
did it.
sold the idea of a cinematic universe.
Right.
So. But back when this was in the ether as just a project, that this was the Frankenstein project for that cinematic universe, guess who was the choice for Frankenstein? It was Doug Jones. I don't think I have nothing against Elordi. Or them making him like a sexy Frankenstein.
I think
I really don't.
I have a lot of.
I think he does a serviceable job here.
What do you think of the way he looks in general? But even just the way they did prosthetics on him, the way the skin grafting looks.
Corpse Bride. He's got like some blued skin and whatnot.
Right.
You know, if anything, that's where it looks very Tim Burton.
I think because they made him very human looking, I think you needed to go sexy. So get Jacob Elordi.
I guess.
I think if you wanted to go full prosthetics crazy, then that's where Doug Jones comes in.
Exactly.
But Doug Jones cannot lead the Frankenstein film. If you're going to make it that humanoid.
I'm telling you, give him the chance.
Okay.
But listen, I mean, that's where it's a nitpick because it's ultimately me saying I wanted a different version of this. I'm not critiquing the movie itself.
Right.
Elordi does do a serviceable job.
But it is sexy Frankenstein.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if something's going to talk, it's going to be money. And I feel like there is a very real curiosity click that people have done on Netflix to check this out because they say, oh, didn't Del Toro make a movie where someone f***ed a fish? Are we going to see Elordi naked? You know what I mean? There's a more, morbid curiosity there that I feel like
aspect of that,
plays into the marketing
little
of
girl
this film.
for sure. Yeah.
There's that is a marketing hook for this. So whether Doug Jones has to suffer from that, and not get work with his most loyal most loyal actor, man. That's where my beef is, Del Toro.
Yeah, that's your biggest beef.
Yeah, you turncoat. But very sadly, I would say I don't think this has been elevated much outside of those dark universe roots. When I look at this movie, and specifically the action, I by no means, I'm not saying this is as bad as Frankenstein, Tom Cruise Mummy. It's not. It really is not. But as it stands, this project might be a dream come true for Del Toro, but I think he has just done better on his own, trying to emulate the love of Frankenstein's story through his other projects. I feel like this pales in comparison to Del Toro wanting to make Frankenstein, but not having the license to do so.
Right. Yeah, he's always been chasing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where I sit with it. But again, most of all, this movie... my mind was made up on this all around the pacing issues. I feel like it lives and dies on that. So if you're comfortable with the ride, maybe even to the point of Netflix, you break this up in your watching as far as streaming goes. Maybe that becomes a little bit more palatable. But for me, it really was truly a make or break. The critical flaw was the pacing and how this story unfolded. We're going to go ahead and give Frankenstein a 54.
Wow, a 54%, not hot at all.
Yeah, I really wasn't.
With that, let's head on into the theaters. We're with Ryan Coogler once again. I don't know what the buzz is about. This is doing... It's a rated R, vampire-ish kind of film. It takes place... It's just like the setting of it, the time period of this. It had almost made $50 million this past weekend. It was a $90 million budget. No one expected it to do this well. And people are like semi-freaking out about not only the success, but also the quality of this film. And I don't want to be that guy. I know I love to be the hater. I love, you know what I mean? I don't like to hate just to hate. Usually there is some type of crumb of something in there. But I'm not sure. And I didn't watch it. I'm not going to hate right off the bat. But
you're also not the demographic as far as like vampire movies.
That is for sure. Yeah. But there's some familiar faces in here that I quite like. I have a lot of respect for Michael B. Jordan.
Sure.
What's her face? She's
Haley
great.
Steinfeld.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
And Jack O'Connell, who we covered in Start Up the other week, is in this.
Oh my God.
He plays the Irish.
That's crazy that I did not connect the dots on that.
I know.
I know. Like, I read your mind.
Right. So anyway, I got no issue with what's going on here. I just have all the issue with I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. But then again, what do I know? As Minecraft has taken store, now sinners, it's clear I should shut my mouth and,
this is the classic thing of just
shut my mic off.
This is a classic thing of just like, we always talk about elevator pitches. If we had a chance to talk to big Hollywood execs, we would not. We would not be successful.
That would be the most foolish shit I could possibly be. I mean, I feel at times I've got the pulse. I can feel the pulse. I'm in the sludge of all this news every week in Hollywood.
Oh, it's so true. Right, you're in it.
Tell you, I'm as clueless as the guy on the side corner. I just with me or the guy down at the edge of the bar.
Right.
I really don't know.
Right,
it doesn't matter. This is what's great about...
You're just another panhandler on the Hollywood Walk
exactly.
of Fame.
I'm replaceable in all of this whole project. You can't take the Vin Daily out of the daily ratings.
You might.
But me,
I
listen.
gotta retire eventually.
Listen. If Vin fires me tomorrow, folks, something ever happens to me, listen, Matt D's taking over my spot. Okay, he's the new co-host.
Oh man.
Anyway,
sinners.
Don't know much about it. I'm dying to hear.
I'm starving over here.
Have at it, Vin. Tell us about Sinners.
Well, if you follow movie industry news, man, you will just no doubt have come across the buzz for Ryan Coogler's and Michael B. Jordan's reuniting for this project. It shows in the box office. Makes me very happy to see this have success, both as an original story and really not connected to a franchise, especially when looking back at Coogler's career, it really was at the hip of a lot of these franchises. I mean, granted, he steps away from some, but the best thing about this is that it's not connected to a franchise, and it was a really fun movie. But I have to be very upfront when I say that this would have hit 10 times harder if the trailer never gave away the twist. That twist being a whole goddamn genre. I saw this right on opening night. I was torn all weekend on what I wanted to focus on for my review, but it seems like everyone, even down to your introduction, Tom, everyone is just talking about this movie, including the marketing itself, and fine with spoiling that Sinners is one stylish vampire movie. Sinners is a southern gangster horror movie around voodoo, hoodoo, and an insatiable thirst for blood. Music is used in the story as world building around powerful individuals that can pierce the veil of reality with their song. Few cultures have even understood this ability, let alone how to tap into it. But once this gateway is open, the song will reach out unpredictably to forces unknown. We center our story on the Smokestack Twins, former Chicago gangsters coming back to their home in the 1930s Jim Crow South, in order to make some cash opening up a juke joint. While their homecoming has brought reunions both pleasant and otherwise, the two quickly gather as many hands as possible to create a smash opening night for their new club that they'll never forget. Blues is just one in the long line of powerful music able to tap into this magic, so when the twins' little cousin Sammy starts singing songs from his heart, it draws in the only guest that needs an invitation to get in. This movie absolutely led with its strongest aspect. Even though everyone is buzzing about the vampire side of the story, and I'll get to that in just a moment, I think this was a really solid gangster flick for the first half.
Oh, okay.
That, frankly, I was kind of sad to see take a back seat.
Okay. What decade are we in exactly?
1930, for sure.
30, okay.
Yeah. Getting the gang together for this first night is a fun, snappy first act that is just paced wonderfully. Almost paced flawlessly in introducing us to a wide cast of characters. Two standouts for me were Delroy Lindo and Haley Steinfeld, two of my favorite supporting performances, but like I said for the last review, if this sequence is about anything, it is about letting Michael B. Jordan shine, and in this case twice over, because he plays two characters. So it's just like, when one's not enough, if you get two, I guess. Maybe we'll get three.
The next step, Creed 4 should be him on him.
That would be awesome. That sounds like a Rocky plot. It sounds like Robo-Rocky or something. Honestly, I am still a little undecided if Jordan playing dual roles feels unnecessary or not. I don't really like this gimmick coming back. We've had a lot of it this year. But mostly, in Sinners specifically, it just feels a little heavy-handed considering the two of them are color coordinated. The reckless brother wears red, the strategic brother wears blue. It's just a bit too spelled out, is all.
Can you even say that their names, correct me if I'm wrong, one is Smoke and the other is Stack?
Bingo. Cool. Again, I like the gangster side of this. Now he's making eyes.
Here, I find it...
It's supposed to be like an Al Capone, heyday of gangster. Not like, Goodfellas mafioso.
I'm sure, and I would hope that if it's in that time period, it's fine. I more so might find this more insulting than other people. Not so much just names, but the movie.
Oh, interesting.
This is my, I hit this era of music hard.
Oh, yeah.
And like blues and southern blues and people and whatever. And I don't know how I would feel about this at all. The music choices, the labeling of, because Smokestack is like Smokestack Lightning. This is
of
what
course.
we're going for.
Of course.
It seems very mainstream, and I think I have just this.
You're feeling a little, little hipster.
No, I'm not hipster. I'm not insulted. But
I liked the blues first. You can't put blues in your movie.
No, it's just like, don't fake us here. Don't act like, okay, do a little Google research and get a few names. Hey, look at this, like we put this song in the movie.
I feel you.
Anyway, I digress. You were kind of digging the two characters. So.
Yes, I think this is all the good side. And again, this first act is just, man, it is excellent. As a single actor, I thought he was pretty great. It's just good to see him with some energy again after the Creed trilogy that was just... I mean, that character just got so much more quieter and beat down with each film that it's not really the energy of that first Creed movie. He just gets to be the full range of whatever you want out of a gangster. Smoke is reckless and charming, while Stack is strategic and cold. Above all else, though, it might be the secret ingredient to this great pacing. These characters, these twins, are mostly in separate scenes. They're not always, and maybe not rarely, but they're not really meant to be on screen at the same time. So plot-wise, it's a great way to have your main star in two places at once without feeling like a detour in the story. I think really this is the secret ingredient to why this first act moves on at a clip. Really props to Coogler writing this one as well. I mean, maybe you could workshop a new name for Back at the Ranch, but this is like Back at the Ranch twofold. There's something to it of just like nothing feels like a detour in this first act, and I think that's what the key to just let's get into it. When the horror starts to creep in, though, I really appreciated the spooky Southern twist to everything, but it was on the weaker side for me. This is where I kind of fall off with the film, where so much of this has been, one, in your face giving away the twist of it being vampires, but two, was definitely the weaker side of this for me. This was not where the originality of this idea came in place.
Had no teeth.
Nice.
Nice. Was it cheeky? Does it get a little bit just like, this is
like
cheeky? This
jokey?
Just like overextending itself, the seriousness almost over.
If anything, it leans on what we know as vampires as a crutch. There's very little done with the vampires. If anything, the vampires to come out of this very interesting mythos around songs piercing into kind of dimensions and time, and maybe that brings in someone that you don't want. What comes out of that riff is traditional ass vampires, like true blue vampires. There's no change to it. I thought music was going to play into it in some way. No, it's just vampires. The style here, and this I think really plays into maybe some of your initial distaste of what's going on here, what they're pulling from for inspiration. The style here is really blown out. It feels like it could have been based on a graphic novel. Also, really, for some reason, it reminded me of two movies, but the style and how it's so blown out reminded me of The Quick and the Dead from back in the 90s. Remember The Quick and the Dead?
I remember you talking about it.
Yeah. It's in the same way that uses a Western and kind of makes it a little anime, a little bit cartoony. Same way. 1930s Southern gangster, but a little graphic novel-ish, a little cartoony in its way. And that's not necessarily bad. I like that style. It does also work like something from Stephen King, where the story hits a mix of style and simplicity. Setting up that powerful songs can breach this veil gives enough real estate for the writing to, frankly, pull whatever it wants out of its ass. It doesn't have to be vampires. It just so happens to be traditional vampires. There are a few areas that this is pushed too far, though, this style. The biggest music scene in the film makes a very interesting choice that will split audiences on how it's handled. There's been a lot of praise of this scene online. It's an impressive one-take shot, and when it comes along, it certainly had my attention, but it is a bit of a what-the-hell moment, considering two separate groups said that out loud in my theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But, I mean, opening night, by the way, your theater must have been packed.
Absolutely packed. Yeah. Not a big theater, but absolutely packed. Personally, I didn't have too much of an issue with the scene. It is really going to be a make or break scene. And I think for you, I'm looking at you, Tom, it's a break. Especially if you're already taking issue with the music before knowing what music was used. This one's that's going to be where you turn it off. Personally, I took more issue with just, again, the vampires. How lazily they incorporated these vampires into the story. Believe me, I get it. I know we all know what vampires are, but I cannot tell you how cheap it felt. How so cheap it was to me that little over halfway in, our characters are all just making wooden stakes and know the rules of the monster. And to me, it just felt a little unearned. Where the first half of the film sets up such authenticity to its Southern Gothic style, the cultures, the melting pot of this, not even just African-American cultures. There's really a lot covered there. Like I said in the beginning, this week kind of all revolving around money in smaller ways, what money does to people's intentions, whether they're good or bad. All of this is earned in the first half of the movie. Anything connected to vampires is unearned and is used as a crutch to say, "Oh, the audience knows what vampires is. Let's go have a vampire payoff."
Right.
Does that make sense?
It totally does, and I love that you bringing up even just graphic novel. This screams comic book or graphic novel.
Yeah. I vaguely remember it being related to something, but I couldn't find anything in research. I don't know. Maybe I was just.
I didn't do too much research into that. I mean, because everyone is talking about how this is Kugler's just kind of invention. He came up with this stuff.
Right.
Do you think that, what if it wasn't spoiled for you? What if the trailer didn't spoil the entire kind of oh shit moment that now we're in a vampire movie?
Right.
It probably would have kicked a lot harder, but not the trailer giving away so much. You sitting there and expecting it. So by the time it happens,
expecting certain people to turn. I mean, I talked about it on a previous episode of just like it gives away a lot of people that turn.
And the shame of it is that only hurt it, and probably only hurt it even more to an extent.
Yep.
Because it's one thing if you had some pretty bland, pretty basic vampires.
Yep.
To not be surprised by it, even takes away even more.
Oh, 100%. But to your question, I think my observation here of the vampires being unearned, and again, I understand it's as simple as whatever. It's not simple for these 1930s characters.
Right.
I think there's some, that's where it's unearned.
A whole nother level of disappointment. Because, and then not only that could be a little electric where you could spend 20 minutes with everybody freaking out and trying to learn what the rules are to whatever just happened.
Right.
I know that's always been your thing when even with going back to our zombie special,
absolutely.
where you love people taking the small steps to realize what is going on, and then taking step by step of trying to actually figure out how to deal with it.
Absolutely.
That's the movie.
What's the rules of the monster?
That's the best part of it.
For sure. Yeah, you're so right. You're going to get me fired up now. You're so right, because that is a monster movie. And if this is a monster movie, it's not that. I don't know. The second half of this, the turn in the second half, going from specifically a crime genre to full-on vampires.
It's a lot. It's trying to be a lot.
It really reminded me vividly of one film, and that is Rodriguez and Tarantino's collab From Dusk Till Dawn. Almost identical in the fact that the pairing is crime into vampires. I even go so far to say that both movies' first half is much stronger than what pays off by the end, especially with how slick that crime element feels. That's my praise here. That's certainly, if we ever covered Dusk Till Dawn, that would be my praise for the first half of that movie. George Clooney and Tarantino, I mean, some cool criminals. I want to be in that crime world. But even though this has some lopsidedness that made me wish we got either one, a great Southern gangster flick, or maybe a little bit more earned of a vampire flick from our director, I still thought it was his strongest movie in a very long time, if not his strongest movie, and worth checking out in theaters for yourself, especially if you have any respect to the care that he's put into the different releases when it comes to IMAX and how to view the movie. We're going to go ahead and give Sinners a 74.
Okay, I've got a little bit of whiplash here.
Oh, okay.
74 is a pretty good movie. That means, that's a very good film almost.
Yeah.
So that first half is doing that legwork?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong.
You still say go see it, even though you're relatively disappointed with how
the vampire
basic
side.
Right.
Listen, I think it's a crutch. Is the vampire side outright bad? No, I just think it's lazy. I just think it's doesn't do anything creative, where the first half of the movie was all creative, so original, both in its setting work, what it pulls, the mythos of this like music veil, all that. Very cool, very original, and all earned. And then all of a sudden there's vampires in the mix, and I get that if that was the point from the very start, that's fantastic. But there's something to it of just like there's so little done to get us to carving wood stakes and be like, all right, you got to stab him through the heart. It's not it.
Okay, well, 74 is actually, I just was reading in the 60s almost from you. Yeah, so I'm glad that you almost kind of did enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
This is your way of tamping down the craziness that's also going around.
yeah, true. Was this at on like 80s?
It's high
80s.
Yeah, high. I mean, it's off the charts with Rotten Tomatoes and everything. Metacritic is going really well.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, there's just this one Variety article that came out.
Oh, okay.
And that's been getting shot down a lot, and the person who wrote it. It's just the negatives and trying to bring it down a little bit and take from the film due to the fact that Ryan Coogler set up this deal of he's going to own it after 25 years. And is it real buzz? Is it fake buzz? Is it whatever? Is people trying to just like tear down the studio format or the way studios do things? Very weird. Much bigger conversation.
And then that's coming from the journalists as well.
Much dumber conversation. And then I think there's an overwhelming group of people that I feel as though need to go above and beyond to sell it. And that's why I'm getting the feeling that it's being oversold, too.
Sure. You're getting marketed,
because
too.
we have defense now of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, that's just me being in the weeds on a daily and weekly basis. With
and also not seeing the movie.
With my newsfeed. Absolutely. Nothing like having strong opinions about a film you've never seen. Love it. Enjoy it.
Well, hopefully I've been able to kind of clear up some of that fog.
Oh, you waded through the waters. Absolutely.
Exactly.
100%.
There's really something to this. I think this is a great watch as far as like you want to put on a fun horror movie. Awesome.
I got to tell you now, what I want is this first half of the movie.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Think about how much mob movies are overdone. I mean, look at Alto Nights.
Oh,
thank
you.
Have we milked this dry yet or not?
Absolutely. The wound was fresh, especially with the dual role.
And then give us a Southern mob movie?
Yeah.
That's actually hitting from like the 30s? Okay, that sounds good to me.
Absolutely.
Rather than take us out of the 50s and the 70s.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it too long?
No, I don't think so.
2 hours and 17.
Even when we're done with what I thought was the really original piece, and we're just, if anything, because the movie is split in half, it feels like 2 episodes of a show or something like that transforms,
Yeah.
And again, that's just still dawn. I mean, like at the exact halfway point, there's a transformation, just like, what happened in this movie and why are there vampires in it? It's just like, that's this, and it goes with it. It runs with it. But I just feel there was something more that could have been built up in that first act.
Okay.
Folks, it's finally here. The film has been hyped beyond hype, like I said at the very start of the episode. I found myself, it's funny that you bring up The Brutalist because of the VistaVision, but I found myself kind of reflecting on last year's experience with The Brutalist, and well, this movie didn't take half the effort to see it and go out and see it. We had to drive for The Brutalist. A new Paul Thomas Anderson film receiving so much praise, it's just hard not to walk into this with some level of expectation. I really feel like that's the only thing that I would have preferred a little bit different in watching this movie. The movie was so unique and so unexpected in so many ways. I wish I just could have gone in a little less hyped, around it.
We had a weird moment in the parking lot walking in.
Yeah.
Because we were like, okay, new Paul Thomas Anderson movie. And both of us were like, I'm
not excited.
I don't want to. Yeah, I want to make myself not excited.
Yeah.
But how can I not be excited for the same thing? Because a PTA movie, it's a bit of an event.
Yeah, absolutely. It was somewhere in between excited and numb. Numb maybe because of the excitement.
And nervous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you want to like the film.
Right, exactly. So, personally, I was just hoping for something pretty good to salvage 2025 a bit, but what we got was just, again, far more unique and unexpected in nearly every ounce of the film. I mean, this was really a one-of-a-kind movie, from tone to performances to even raw entertainment value. This movie didn't come close to disappointing me, and I'm happy to say that it is worthy of some serious hype. One Battle After Another is a tough movie to summarize, however. My best shot is that it's an absurdist, terrorist, dark comedy. that's kind of my
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think
it's got absurd elements for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, this is definitely the most I laughed in a Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
And Anderson wants you to. I listened to a few interviews with him. And I think he kind of put it on, if he had to boil it down, I believe his words were, what happens when revolutionary groups collapse in on themselves?
Yeah.
You know?
There is some slapstick to it, for sure, yeah. It's pretty intense at times. It has a surprising amount of heart, which was kind of unexpected, especially in its second half, and more than a few parts of it will have you wanting to see it again for yourself. That's kind of where I land. Exactly on your note, Tom, of just like, this deserves a second watch just because
it's kind of the rule of thumb for PTA.
Yeah, I think that's the theme. Maybe that's the DNA
literally.
of PTA.
Unless it's Inherent Vice, maybe a third watch.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, this is adapted from a novel, the 1990 novel Vineland, by this episode's favorite author, Thomas Pynchon. Out of all of his work adapted this week, though, I found myself the most interested in this for more reasons than I can get into, spoiler reasons as well, but mainly to see how its political issues are portrayed. One thing I want to talk about just in this summary section is that while One Battle After Another has a lot to do with politics, a lot to do with, analogies of hot button issues today, such as around immigration, I have a hard time calling this story inherently political, considering just how much it concerns itself with personal vendettas, blood feuds, as the driving force of its story. When I was really thinking back to this, yes, the elements. I mean, it's a domestic revolutionary group. It's obviously going to be political, but the actual movers of the plot, the movers of the story, and the arcs of our characters aren't inherently political. And I feel like that's where, if maybe you look at this movie and you say, not for my gut right now, I would say, rest assured, it's much more about these characters, and you get some phenomenal performances on those.
Yeah, I think there is a big distinction of our characters are very political. This movie is not very political.
Right.
This is showing political people and just a downward spiral for everyone who's involved.
Yeah, everyone.
And also, what's some of the most comedic takes can we take from here?
Absolutely.
I want to go back from what I said in the beginning of the show, too. The fact that he started writing this in 1999 is very cool.
Yeah.
Because this is something coming from something different. I mean, a lot of the stuff, he does say that, the Weather Underground was very inspirational for part of this story.
Sure.
But the way it's somewhat topical, and times don't change. Times do change, and yet they don't at all. And it's kind of cool. But it is also a thing of very political characters, not very political story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like even when we've talked about this, for some reason, maybe not for some reason, but Civil War comes to mind with Alex Garland. I feel like that even is more on the political spectrum than what this is really about. This is truly about the characters. Just something I wanted to kind of talk about because I couldn't fit it into other parts of this review. Setting the stage for this feud, though, this vendetta, are, once again, the domestic revolutionaries, the French 75. Great name, by the way. Freedom fighters on the Mexican border aiming to take down the establishment and willing to make a name for themselves while doing so. Making one hell of a team leading the group is the duo of Tiana Taylor and Leo DiCaprio, dangerous lovers that feed off of the ideals they bring into action, and while doing so, gaining one seriously obsessive enemy, Colonel Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn. We will get back to Sean Penn. And I can't believe I'm saying that. I originally wrote a joke, like while this movie, I was prepping to get to see this movie. It was probably in the parking lot. And I was like, I'm not too excited to see Sean Penn, especially since he voiced a character in the Angry Birds movie. That was just like so like, no, Sean Penn, I'm a fan of Sean Penn now. I kind of was before, but like.
For sure. I mean, he has a long career. Mm-hmm. He even came out and said he was kind of coasting for the past 15 years. He said this.
Wow.
15 years. He goes, hey, I like the roles that I took before.
Yeah.
But he kind of fell in love with acting, basically, is what he was trying to say.
Wow.
And then he did this movie, and he's like, he's back in it. Wow. He goes, he missed that feeling, and he wants to get back into it and start to take his roles a little bit more serious now, which was great.
Yeah. Great. But the cause means so much more to Tiana, even over starting a family with the man she loves. And so we see a huge 16-year jump in the story, showing the aftermath of her decisions and the family Leo struggles to raise. Colonel Lockjaw hardly forgets his time hunting them down together, though, and suddenly is given a reason to finish the job, finally closing the noose on the French 75. I would say for the first hour or so for the film, and we talked about this in the parking lot right after, I was completely sold on all the hype. I feel like this first hour, just like the perfect inciting incident, the perfect kickoff to things. The trio of DiCaprio, Taylor, and Penn, they were just incredible and made for just a great spark to kick off this story. I think as it relates to the meaty runtime on the film, the worth itness to check it out and maybe actually go the extra mile and see it in theaters like we're talking about, even the pacing of the story, I cannot praise this more than calling that first third of the movie just absolute magic. I think that first hour is just like, man, it made me want just like a whole, like 3 other movies around the French 75. You know what I mean? I just loved how, like, it was just such a electric pacing to it to set it all up. There was just no fat on it. Gave us interesting insight to these characters. And like many of the great vendettas set up on screen, that inciting incident in our intro being so strong, that's really what's going to hook you for the later part of the runtime.
It's super important.
Yeah, I've actually
spent some time in that.
Yeah, I've talked to 2 people saying that they've been kind of turned off by the runtime on this. What is it, 2 hours, 40?
It's 2:41.
2:41.
It's tough, man. Even like I would have saw if it was for whatever reason, if this was 2:25, I would have went again last night.
Yeah, you're right.
When you cross over 2.5, you are asking an audience for something. Now you're talking to a guy who loves Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
But I can sit through the Lord of the Rings, and all of a sudden it's over, and I'm just like, it's nothing. It's nothing. I mean, whatever. But
you also have the extended cuts to like, It's not as long as that.
No, I'm done with that's the thing. I'll watch the extended cuts. This movie does, in my opinion, feel long. I'm not saying I would cut things, but it does feel long.
Yeah,
you know, it does. You know, a story is told for sure. It's a big story that has to be set up, undergo, and resolve.
Yeah, and that's not even like there's this time jump that happens in the story, but like there's a lot of setup just to set up all the pieces that we're going to touch base with later on down the road. You know, so
I'm glad you said that about. I'm glad you felt that way in that opening third, that first 45 minutes, whatever. I didn't feel that way, and I think it's because of expectations or. I was waiting to get to the stuff that was in the trailer, and that was a big mistake for me because I was, you know what I mean? I was waiting for that moment. And
you were conscious of like, well, this is not going to be the case for the rest of the movie, so where's that coming?
Right. When is the flip going to happen?
Yeah.
And of course, we do get a flip, but that first part is so integral, and that's where a second watch for me, I think, is going to make a big, big difference. Yeah. I can kind of drop the, no. Sit down and watch it from minute one, and you're in. You're actually in it. You don't need to wait 45 minutes to get in the movie. Sure. You are in it when it starts. And I'm glad that you right away off the bat, we're digging it.
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, it really boils down to my love of heists and watching this cool ass terrorist group. I mean, like there's a certain degree of lovability that happens to it, and obviously they're doing extreme things, but there's a rhythm that happens in this first third it just makes it so satisfying, and that's where I would say again that runtime's a little intimidating. I would even say there might be even some stumbles later on in the story that I don't love, but it's a story and script with an incredible kickoff. And I would say to anyone that is maybe a little bit iffy about watching it, really just watch that first third, and I feel like you're going to be hooked. Whether you love it as much by the end, that's up to the air.
And it is the first third. That's the thing. It's not going to be the first 15 minutes in this car crash. The car crash is going to get you in.
Right.
Learn the characters. Know why we're here. Yep. The setup is super important to the film.
Absolutely.
I feel like comedy... The fact that this is basically his most comedic movie out of the 10, this is number 10. Out of the 10 he's done, I feel like this is the one that needs to be the most comedic. And I think it helps you a lot enjoy it and get you through it. It helps the runtime. Yeah. And it sells a little bit of the first. Like you said, they do crazy things. Some of the characters' names are ridiculous. The bombasticness of everyone. The silliness of Lockjaw. It does. It grips you in a certain way that his other movies can't, because this deserves the humor, actually.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe even that lightens the load a little bit. It does. Create some satire to it a tiny bit, to take it a little bit lightly. The acting performances, though, is where all my praise is. For this trio specifically is where all my love for the film is. I've truly never seen anything from Tiana Taylor, but holy shit, she is one badass bitch in this. She stole the show for me. Not only was she key to these like heist-like scenes just being my favorite visually, rhythm-wise in the movie, but it was such a complicated role, having this character kind of wear her flaws on her sleeve and maybe even recognize them as flaws, but be so entrenched in her beliefs, in her ideals behind, what she dedicates her life to, and how that creates conflict even with the people she outright loves and wants to spend her life with. Just such an interesting character, really, really great. Leo kind of has two stages to his acting in this because of the time jump, but I think is honestly really great in both. I love his single dad shtick in this. It is unexpected. He does, I feel like, a refined version of the comedy we get in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Obviously, very different characters, because that's like a character that becomes... I don't know, his ego gets in the way of who he is, kind of like a bumbling fool himself. Here, there's no ego, but there's still like this like duty to his daughter, and if anything, like, I don't know, it was an incredible character that you can just root for. I feel like Leo's character in this was just like everything you want out of a dad character, even though he's part of like some real bad stuff. Right. he's definitely got a lot of flaws,
Paul Schrader doesn't think so. Paul Schrader said he was just wanting Leo to die the entire time.
Oh, really?
Literally, yeah.
Wow.
But I'm on your
Paul
camp.
Schrader, the writer.
Yeah, and director, Paul Schrader, yeah.
Interesting.
Well, again, like I said, every director has to sign off on this film in one way or another.
Right.
But no, I mean, I like Leo more than I thought I was going to like him. I thought we were going to get typical Leo, kind of. And I even think that I like Leo a little bit more than you, is safe to say. Because you're just waiting for, okay, we know Leo. He's going to have his Leo freak out, whatever.
I'm glad you said it for me.
He does take up two roles. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
We do have a transformation with the character. I do really like the arc of the character. That could have been the whole movie for me.
Yeah.
Act 2 of this film, I think, is where I'm settled in, and I'm loving this.
Yeah.
And Leo is just, I don't know, he's great. I like the way he plays this dad. His incompetent competency, again, he does, it's a little bit of Joaquin and Inherent Vice, for sure.
Yeah.
Just totally surprised of how much I enjoyed seeing him on screen, to the point where I was bummed when he wasn't, and I think that, again, detracts from me. I walked out of this really liking this movie.
Yep.
I think after I watch it a second time, I'm going to just absolutely love this film. But part of the reason why I wasn't overly enthusiastic walking out was, I think, because I wanted more Leo.
Yeah.
And I just, again, maybe the first 45 minutes didn't get me right away because I was expecting something else. And kind of what I was waiting for, like I was talking about with the trailer, was I wanted Leo in the bathrobe talking to his daughter.
Right.
And when we get that, I'm in. I'm loving it so much. Or Leo with Sensei, who's Benicio del Toro. Great. He really is.
Really
almost.
great.
I think he surprised the both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Some shades of why can't I think of the Marty film? Man, why am I blanking on the Marty film? Indian gangster, Indian Goodfellas. That's
Indian Goodfellas?
Martin Scorsese's last film.
Oh.
De Niro.
No, I haven't. Your favorite movie last year?
That's fucking
Something of the Harvest Moon? What the f- is it called?
Killers Under the Flower Moon.
Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon, that's right.
Okay, all right.
Oh, I was disappointed with Leo in that one.
Okay,
I think Leo was miscast in Killers.
So
About
maybe
that.
keep that in. Maybe keep that in. So no, I'm with you there in the sense that in that movie I kind of wanted more from Leo. I'm with you in the sense that like I want even more of him in this as well.
You wanted to see him on screen, or you wanted more from his acting?
See him on screen a little bit more.
Oh, you had that with Killer. I did not have that with Killer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it does have that thing where it's just like, I want to see Leo. But I was kind of annoyed with his character, actually, in that film.
Sure.
This one, totally opposite. I'm like in 100% more.
Interesting. I guess before I move on to Sean Penn, any notes for Tiana Taylor?
Great to be around. I mean,
and also complete unknown.
a wild woman.
Yeah.
I think she's a little known.
Oh, okay.
Not crazy known, but yeah, she has been in some things, I think, or just in... Was she a musician, too?
I don't know.
I know. People knew her name.
Okay.
Because as I'm listening to reviews and also listening to interviews of the main cast, I just know she had some sort of presence. Who didn't was the girl that plays Leo's daughter.
Yes. And good. Very good.
This is her first movie.
Wow.
And she does very, very well. I mean, and Paul Thomas Anderson said they did go through a bunch of different people. He said, how specific it needs to be, the type of character that it's written for.
Yeah.
She knocked it out of the park. Why can't I find her name? Kind
of a similar thing to what you were saying with Phantom Thread, though, where it's just like, this is an intimidating breakout role because of who you're surrounded by, acting-wise.
Oh my gosh! I know you're just with Leo the entire time.
Yeah.
Rebecca Hall. Then she's not Rebecca Hall. Who am I thinking?
Regina.
Yes, Regina.
Falling
Hall.
apart.
Rebecca Hall.
Yeah.
No, but Chase Infinity is the actress's name who plays Leo's daughter, and very good, shockingly good. Yes, being amongst all these big actors. And coming from nowhere. I mean, plucked from obscurity and just, fantastic.
Yeah. Really great. But,
you can jump to Lockjaw.
Okay, holy shit. Sean Penn is insane in this. There is no doubt in my mind this man will sweep Best Supporting with this role. I mean, I don't think anything comes close. I mean, granted, we got
awards, but season coming.
Exactly. We have the wave of festival films and whatnot, but this was such a surprise. I mean, if anything, to the point that I was like, again, I was ready to crack jokes at Sean Penn's acting career before watching this movie, and was like, no, like he was a phenomenal villain in this. His character on the surface is not complicated, and if anything, I feel like that's where he works so well, because his character's goals are so clear cut and so laid out for us, but. Wow, writing-wise, pacing-wise, if this isn't a lesson in making your villain felt on screen, this is, going to be my go-to example of keep your villain in the foreground. Keep your villain felt.
Ever present.
Yes, exactly. The amount of times he comes face-to-face with our characters in a scene is insane. This is the polar opposite of an armchair villain where he's sending out henchmen and, you have to wait until the finale to really see the real meat of this interaction. No, this guy was boots on the ground. even long into the story when he has henchmen and a whole military force at his disposal, he is the driving force of his own character. He is always directly felt because he is directly present. He is the one present in it. There is a scene early on in that first establishment that he basically just walks up to Leo in a supermarket, and like my jaw was on the floor. I was like, this dude is the chief villain in charge. Like
Vince starts laughing, he hits me, and he's like, no henchman, no henchman. He's just taking care of it himself.
I'm so thrilled with this. Like, please take a lesson. Anyone that is even relatively writing a villainous person, like, look at this character. This is how you make it felt to the audience. I seriously, I really, I don't know. I mean, like, I want to watch other Sean Penn movies after this. This was a incredible role for him. It's a slight joke, but also a slight desire that the only other person I could see filling this role is George C. Scott. Like, it's that level of a performance.
Okay.
And I feel George C. Scott, especially like from like Dr. Strangelove, his, somewhat satire performance.
I've heard comparisons with this. Yes.
I feel like this is, and that's a praise to
that is hilarious.
Yeah, that's a huge praise to Sean Penn that I'm saying George C. Scott. Like, it's at that level of a performance.
I have to say, halfway through the movie, I was like, man, he wasn't talk about a guy who just wants to act and thought the character was going to be like, this is going to be a crazy guy to act. You know what I mean? But, you know, he's making himself look like an idiot. Like, I don't think there's a lot of actors that would want to take this character on because, like, I don't want to look like this on screen.
Right. Yeah, kind of like he's a bumbling fool himself in ways. You know?
He's physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
And you'd think Sean Penn, an actor that has, you know, maybe some stories about him that he does like have an ego. He has like written to Trey Parker and Matt Stone when they were doing Team America World Police, and he was like, take me out of it. You know what I mean? Like, there are stories around Sean Penn having an ego.
Interviewing El Chapo.
Right. Yeah. And right. His old documentary sides and shit like that. And then this comes along and it's just like, wow. Total respect.
I always had respect for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be annoying. He could just like, sometimes just like, I just shut up. Why don't you just make good movies, please? Where are you? And I think he has the same feeling now. He was in this movie and then literally, I mean, he's like, I'm going to start doing better, like, acting again and better things.
He's hooked.
I always came out of, like, coming out of their, Into the Wild, which he directed. I just always had a big appreciation for him.
Sure. Fair. Just an unexpected role. I expected him to play it like an armchair villain, that we primarily got interactions with henchmen, and then he's a big hammy payoff at the end.
Down to the way he walks is so funny.
Yeah, wild. But that's really where, like, my main praise is. I want to talk about music, but any other thoughts around acting or?
No, I just don't want to forget about Chase Infinity again. I really do think she's in it more than I thought.
Yeah.
Leo's daughter, again, based on the trailer, which is just nothing. You know, it's 2 hours and 41 minutes. A trailer can only do so much.
Right.
But she was just in it more than I thought. She held her own and really appreciated that, because when we have a younger actress in who hasn't been in anything before, it's a bit of a risk.
Yeah.
And crushes it.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick note on the music. I feel like the music was pretty interesting to me as well. Not exactly in a listenable sense, but more so for the mood it captured. The whole score has like some really scrambling abstract jazz, marching drums in it, very militant at times. Sounds like, I'm going to make a movie comparison and a video game comparison. It sounds like Birdman, honestly, the type of where the abstract jazz of it adds a weird rhythm to the movie. Also reminds me of the latest Zelda games, believe it or not. Those Zelda games have very abstract music composition from time to time.
We'll have to believe you.
Yeah. I know. That's what I was like, let me ground you in one example, so then I can make another.
Would you say that I couldn't even lock down what this score was, because I felt like the music had phases in it?
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, I was just like, oh, the music just changed a little bit. I like this.
Yep.
So I thought that the range of what we were dealing with, or even just the instruments used, was various throughout the movie, which I appreciated, because there's also so many different things going on in the movie.
Sure.
And then just a slew, not a small amount, of just great needle drops.
Yes.
Too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like that's where Greenwood definitely excels. If anything, again, where we talked about with Inherent Vice, like that's as far as the licensed soundtrack goes, like really top
Crushing
notch.
it there too, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't really have more thoughts on it until I listened to it stand alone. And that's why I said, I mean, like, it's on a soundtrack of its own, it's not as listenable. I was able to just kind of hear it on its own and appreciate where that was playing into, scenes with the French 75 versus Lockjaw, how that changes from moment to moment. It's also a minor note, but there's this secret tone device that's used in the story to find other hidden members of the group. Initially, I thought it was kind of lazy writing, honestly.
Yeah.
By the end, I really loved it. It's a super minor note, but just something kind of interesting as far as like what kind of scenes it crafted when this almost, I don't know, not MacGuffin, but like a magical device. How it crafted like some really important scenes of when it was coming together. Overall, I thought this was a movie that really understood tension, how to crank up the tension and when to release it. And in just so many ways, that title takes on a literal meaning. Sean Penn being as up close and personal to the stakes of the story is a great example of that, and reminds me of the qualities that I love in movies like The Revenant, where you can almost visualize the threat pushing the plot along. Mm-hmm. You can kind of feel and see the structure of the story and how the threat actually makes a difference to that, how it's the game changer. This is also encapsulated in a great single scene towards the end where PTA gives us one of the most visually satisfying car chases I've seen in a while. I mean, this was a cool scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really, the biggest area of the story that lost me were just how comedic elements were woven in the story, simply because I just was enjoying that tension and the stakes so much. I'm very happy to say that Paul Thomas Anderson knocked it out of the park with this, though, and I can't wait to see the movie again. We're going to go ahead and give One Battle After Another an 81.
An 81%. Yes, indeed. The big winner at the Academy Awards was also Vin Daly's #1 film from last year. One Battle After Another gave director Paul Thomas Anderson his first Oscar. That first one of the night was for Adapted Screenplay. He would go on to win Best Director, and of course, the film won Best Picture, along with others, so including even the first ever Oscar given out for Best Casting. A couple other big films for the daily ratings last year, but didn't walk away with any Oscars, was, of course, Train Dreams on Netflix. That was nominated for Best Picture, but didn't win anything. And then the film that completely got shut out from nominations was Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. So if interested, be sure to check those reviews out that we did last year. So we will have Vin Daly back in the chair next week. We're going to see what all the drama is about between Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. And of course, we'll also see what's up with Mario and Luigi in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. It's going to be a lot of fun as always, and we hope you join us. And also, if you'd like to support Vin and I here at the Daily Ratings, remember that we are listener supported and donation supported. So you can head to thedailyratings.com and go to the donations tab if you'd like to show what value we are bringing here. Of course, don't forget to send us a producer note along with your donation. It's greatly appreciated. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for listening week after week. And of course, we'll see you next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast.